So this bill provides that the debt must be prorated amongst those who leave the city, which is only fair. The only problem here is that the definition of general obligation debt in the bill as proposed is very, very narrow. It includes only direct, like if they had to put a sewer line in, it includes the debt only for that sewer line. If they had to build a bus station that might be right outside that area, or they had to build a police precinct, or they bought 75 new police cruisers, that part is not included, although it inures to the direct benefit of those people in that district. And secondly, this definition of general obligation debt does not include refinances. Now, those of you that have been involved in city and county and even state government know that when interest rates ebb and flow, smart money people will, if it makes sense, refinance those debts at a lower rate usually. But the principle remains the same. It's like if you had a house and you wanted to refinance your mortgage because in the 80s, the mortgage rate was 22%, and now it's almost 2%. You can do that, and it's smart to do it. But the fact of the matter is, if you owed $100,000 on that house when you refinance it, you still owe $100,000. And that's what we have in the situation here with Memphis. They went in good faith and used some of this debt on fixing this area up for these folks. And then they refinanced it, so ultimately it would cost them less. But now the definition of general obligation bond in this bill removes anything that's been refinanced. It is just patently, can I say it one more time? Patently unfair to anybody. And I'm only speaking of Memphis because it happens to be the biggest town we're talking about. There are 6 or 7 others that are going to be in the same shape. I think possibly some of the small ones, it won't make that much difference. But if a city refinanced all its debt, it means that there is no general obligation debt that the people who moved out must be obligated for. This is unfair. And I would ask, please, ladies and gentlemen, that you support this amendment. It doesn't change anything in the bill, how it works, how you get in, how you get out. It just sets the level of debt in which these folks should be obligated for. And it's patently unfair if we do it any other way. Thank you. Sorry for the length there. I would move adoption of the amendment.
Leader Fitzhugh moves adoption of amendment number 1, properly seconded. Representative Carter, you recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. As you will learn as we discuss this bill further in a few moments, the comptroller drafted these provisions to ensure that there would be no financial damage to these cities. General obligation debt is the debt the term of art determined to pick up all of the debt necessary to secure that city. Revenue bonds were not included for this reason. A revenue bond is a bond that is issued that has an income stream to pay for it, such as the financing of a stadium where there will be rents and other incomes to pay that. To require the withdrawing parties to pay that debt plus allow the money to go would be a double debt. And I remind you that this is the amendment that went through the Finance Committee after discussions with the City of Memphis and the Comptroller's Office, days and days of negotiations, and the Comptroller made these determinations despite my objections at the time, until I listened and understood what he was saying and that it was fair and reasonable to ensure the financial security of those cities. I consented to the amendment and adopted it in the committee. So for that purpose, I move it to the table.
Proper motion, properly seconded. The parliamentary situation is that Representative Fitzhugh has moved adoption of amendment number 9. Representative Carter has moved that motion to the table. That cuts off all debate except for that of the sponsor. Representative Fitzhugh, you are recognized.
I respect our comptroller. He is a good friend of mine, and I'm glad he is our comptroller. He just happens to be wrong on this one. It's just that simple, because we're not talking about revenue bonds here. We're talking about general obligation bonds that now exclude those that are not direct but have an effect, and those that have been refinanced. It truly should. It should be a friendly amendment. It really should. Courts are going to throw this baby out. We might as well get it right, ladies and gentlemen. I urge you to vote against the tabling motion. Thank you.
Parliamentary situation is that Representative Fitzhugh has moved the adoption of amendment number 9. Representative Carter has moved that motion to the table. We're voting on the tabling motion. All those in favor vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
That's okay. Aye, 67, 27 nay.